Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 1060 Southwest 206th Avenue here in Beaverton, located at the front of the house. We're right next to the air conditioning unit. So you've got the big 4-inch vent stack right here that comes down the side of the house. The clean out has been kind of used up to add a couple drains. One of them in particular here is it's a downspout, the big pipe we're looking at. There's also a drain line from something else going into it too. And we'll talk about more about that here in just a second. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water's running, and we are zeroed out. Off we go here. And it looks like right as we drop in there, the line appears to have transitioned over to ABS plastic. I may have to do a little reviewing of this video at home in better lighting though. I've got a lot of sun in my face here, but that does appear to be updated ABS. Now we're into 3034 PVC pipe, also 4-inch diameter. Anyway, as it relates to the clean out access, I mean, from a technical standpoint, anytime you have a sewer line like this, you're not supposed to have sewer gas able to vent next to operable windows, which this one is because the clean out is just open to the air. There are ways of doing this where you can seal things up so that anything venting is going out the roof vents. You know, ideally though, what I always recommend is having your storm system tied into a storm system and not into the sewer line. And in a lot of parts of town, that's either encouraged and or is a necessity. But so anyway, that'll be on the report there. And we just bumped out, it looks like, the 6-inch diameter 3034 there just a moment ago. We're into some level of standing water, but we'll take a look at this on the way out when the line's fully drained. I've got a bathtub running right now that's putting a lot of water down line that can exaggerate some pretty small bellies into something that looks a little more notable. I think that spot there is going to drain out reasonably well. But we shall see. All right, I think we may have hit the main here. I think what the line is doing is traveling over to the newer townhouse area adjacent. It looks like they ran a main up that road, that little drive. Looks like we're entering into concrete. This almost kind of has the makings of looking like it's entering a manhole. All right, so we are indeed in a manhole right now. Line just went a different direction than I originally thought. So, and I describe things in general as if you're facing the house from the street. So the line pops out of the home right next to the air conditioning unit, turns, and it heads to the side street to the right of the home. It doesn't go over to the little drive there where the townhouses are. But if you walk over to that road, again, directly to the right of this house, so the line does appear to travel through the neighbor's property to the right of this home, so you're probably going to have some kind of easement in place for that, would be my assumption anyway. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's quite a shallow main too. I was only getting about 4'6", 4'7" deep there at the main lateral. And for a long run like this, you know, ideally you have a main that's set at a very, very deep level, so you've got a lot of room to grade a long line like this. Well, I'm gonna go do some locating. My foot counter's being funny. I think I bumped my equipment and it's not counting backwards. So I'll probably have to review the old video here, but it looks like maybe the last 20 feet. Something like that. I'm gonna go locate though to see where we are. Has some standing water. What I'm not, and my camera right now is upside down. There is some grease buildup on the sidewalls. I'm not seeing any major buildup at the top of the sewer line, and we are in large diameter 6-inch pipe, which is a good thing if you have standing water. All right, so it's about the last 15 feet here of the line has got at least this particular spot in the line where the standing water is. And the line's finally drained off here at this point. You can see going back into it how there is very little standing water to speak of. So at these I mean, you've probably got somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 inch of water there. And at the distance we are from the home, that is, especially being how far out we are, not one I'm going to recommend a fix on. It's too minor, too expensive for what you're dealing with here, and the likelihood of developing a blockage and a backup from that distance in modern plastic pipe at this diameter is very, very low, unless you are abusing the thing like crazy. If you're abusing the line that hard, you're going to block the pipe up anywhere. It doesn't matter if there's a belly or not. So on top of that, not that it's something I'm recommending a fix on anyway, I'm actually pretty pleased with how well they graded this thing. Where the belly starts there, I put markings down just in case anyone wants to see it. But it starts just before the sidewalk edge over there, and it was only 3'6" deep. The average line I look at where you've got a 100-foot run, by that point you're like 6 to 7 feet deep typically. That's the tricky part about running these long lines, where this house went in at a completely different era in time than when the rest of the neighborhoods went in. So you're kind of working with what you have, and that main there is about half the depth in an ideal realm that it would be to grade the line. But even with that kind of a setup, even with a main that's 15 feet deep, about 90% of the lines I look at, I've done almost 25,000 sewer scopes at this point in my career. About 90% of lines that push over 90 to 100 feet will very routinely have bellies in them. You know, and under ideal circumstances, you don't have that. But a lot of bellies, until they start getting in really close proximity to the house and have a fair amount of standing water, in most cases they rarely cause problems unless the homeowner's really helping things along by putting improper stuff down the pipe. You know, this line, for instance, it's got a little bit of grease buildup. That's that kind of brown tannish stuff you see there built up on the pipe bottom. You know, I'll recommend some jetting to clean it out, but even the buildup in the line right now is not an outrageous level of it. This is the kind of buildup I see on your average, you know, 50, 60 foot line that is perfectly graded. Everything we just scoped there, all the 3034 green PVC, all of it's intact, in good shape. And we are coming up at, that drained out actually quite nicely. It drained out even better than I thought it was going to. So even with the little bit of standing water there at the end of the line, I would still say that you have good flow to the main lateral. All the pipe we just scoped there is in good condition. The overwhelming majority of what we just scoped there is updated, for the exception of just a little bit of cast iron at the start. I'm going to recommend the downspout here be tied into the storm system. That's where it's supposed to be going, not into the sewer line. And then you've got a little drain line here that ties into it. Looks like a condenser drain for condensation. There are ways of doing that where you can seal the pipe up. First off, I would consult with a plumber, licensed plumber, on how you can configure that in a proper manner. I've seen it done before where you put like an ABS cap on the clean out so you can seal it up, where I've seen holes drilled in the cap and then you run the little drain through it that way. So I would just recommend tying these things in a proper fashion. But as for the line itself here, we have good flow of the main. All the pipe is in good condition, intact. I'm going to recommend cleaning on the line. Again, not an outrageous amount of buildup in the pipe as it sits, but it would be nice to see the grease cleaned out of there. Anyhow, line is functioning at this time. You'll have improved flow after it's cleaning.